All right, so good morning, everyone. Today we're going to be looking at some more absolute value equations. There's really one thing you got to be careful about that wasn't in the Delta Math sections is that if you have stuff outside your absolute values, you first need to get the absolute value by itself before you can split it into those two equations. So your goal is to have the absolute value of something equals just like a number. And then you can split them into like those two equations and you'll get your two answers. So we're going to look at a few examples. These will be similar to the questions you're going to see on the exit slip. So your goal is to get that completed either today or Friday, depending on how quickly you work. You might finish earlier and not have to do as much tomorrow. This first question, if you look, we have the absolute value of x minus 2 equals 3. So a lot of times students are tempted just to split it up, but you can't split it up until you get that absolute value of x by itself. So the first thing you would do in this problem to get rid of that minus 2 is you would add it to the other side. So if you did that, you would have the absolute value of x equals 5. And now you can split up your equation. This is like something you would see in Delta Math. So we would just have x equals 5, x equals -5. If you remember, you keep the inside of your absolute value the same, but you set it equal to the positive and the negative of the constant it's equal to. And in this one, we'd be done because there's nothing we need to do to solve. We already have our two answers. Let's look at another one, though. So in number 2, we have the absolute value of x plus 1 minus 2 equals 10. So similar idea, we want to get rid of that minus 2 on the outside. So we would add 2 to the opposite side. So then we would have the absolute value of x plus 1 equals 12. Now this is like Delta Math. You can split it into your two equations. So I'm going to maybe use a different color. So you'd have x plus 1 equals positive 12. You'd have x plus 1 equals -12. And then from here, you would just solve these equations. Subtract 1. Sorry, my handwriting's a little sloppy, but you'd get positive 11. Subtract 1 from -12, you'd get -13. And those would be like your two answers. One thing to be on the lookout for, number 3, we have 3 times the absolute value of 2x equals 18. You can't distribute or you can't multiply this 3. A lot of times students, they try and multiply this inside the absolute value. You can only do that for parentheses. So that's not okay for absolute value. So if you have a number in the very front, like 3 times this, to get rid of it, you're going to divide it to the other side. So you would have the absolute value of 2x equals 6. And now you can split it up. We have the absolute value part by itself. So we can split this up. We would have 2x equals positive 6. And we would have 2x equals -6. So then you would just divide. And you get positive 3. You would divide and you would get -3. So keep in mind, if you have a number in the very front, like your a value, to get rid of that, you divide it to the other side. Let's look at one more. So in this problem, we have 2 times the absolute value of x minus 2 plus 1 equals 7. So like I said, our goal is to get that absolute value of x minus 2 by itself. So to do so, the first thing you want to do is subtract that 1. So if you do that, you would just have 2 times the absolute value of x minus 2 equals 6. Remember, this is 2 times this, so to get rid of this 2, you divide. So then 6 divided by 2 is 3. Now this is like a question you saw in Delta Math. You can split this up. So we would have x minus 2 equals positive 3. And you would have x minus 2 equals -3. And now we just solve this equation. So you would add 2. You would get x equals positive 5. You would add 2 to -3. And you would get -1. And those are your answers. I will post a picture of these problems worked out because that might be helpful for you to look at. But try your best with the exit slip. Make sure you show your work and try and do it the best you can, because this is something you're going to see on our quiz next Wednesday. And I really want to make sure that's a good quiz before we go on break. But if you need any help, stop by the Zoom during our normal class time or shoot me an email. Just let me know if you need any help, because I'm not trying to kind of leave you hanging. But I mean, these are just going to be a couple weird days, but hopefully next week we're back and everything's good. But have a good one, everyone.